Welcome to X Confessions Unlocked, where lies, betrayal, and truth collide. Kindly subscribe so you don't miss any of this. We share new stories daily. Stick around and unlock the drama. Now, let's get into today's story. My ex-wife cheated on me with my best friend and got pregnant. They thought they destroyed me, but I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just walked away quietly. And by the time they realized what I'd done, it was far too late. The apartment was too quiet without her. Even Billy, my golden retriever, seemed confused by the silence, like he was waiting for Kayla to walk in from work, kick off her boots at the door, and complain about the smell of paint on her sleeves. The hum of the fridge sounded louder than usual. I tried turning on the TV, then off again. Nothing could drown out the stillness. That night, I slept maybe 3 hours, and when I did, I dreamed of her voice saying my name like a stranger would. Looking back now, I think it really started with the pink Post-it. A harmless little square stuck to my laptop when I got home from work. She'd written, "Hey babe, Billy's out of food. Love you. K," with a little smiley face. Except he wasn't. I had just refilled his food bin 2 days before. Kayla never forgot things like that. She was the kind of person who kept our fridge organized by shelf zones. The kind of person who remembered every password and every birthday. I stared at the note longer than I should have. Something about it felt off, like the setup to a bad joke I didn't understand yet. That same night, she said she was staying late at school to grade some 5th grade art portfolios. She claimed the classroom was a disaster, and she didn't want to bring anything home. I offered to swing by with coffee or dinner. She politely declined. "Parents might be there late," she said. "They'll ask a million questions if they see you." I believed her. I want to believe her. Marriage doesn't survive on constant suspicion, I reminded myself. So I let it go. Later, Billy needed a walk, and it had started to rain. One of those slow, misty drizzles that soaks your hoodie before you realize how wet it is. I threw on Mason's old OSU sweatshirt, the one he gave me after that insane homecoming game we watched our sophomore year. It was threadbare and stupidly sentimental, but it still felt like armor. We walked our usual loop, and when we got to the light at Sutter's Grocery, I saw Kayla. She was in the passenger seat of a black SUV, parked at the red light. The driver was Mason. His window was down. Her face was turned toward him. So close it looked like they were sharing a secret. And then his hand reached out and cupped the side of her face, just gently, like he was holding something precious. I stopped walking. Billy sneezed loudly. That was enough for her to look up. Her eyes met mine, wide, frozen. She didn't move. Neither did I. The light changed. Mason hit the gas. The SUV rolled away, silent on the wet pavement. I didn't chase them, didn't yell. I just stood there until the rain ran my sleeves, and Billy started pawing at my ankle like he knew I wasn't okay. I wish I could say I confronted her that night, that I stormed in and demanded the truth like the men in movies do. But I didn't. I went home, dried off, sat in the quiet, and decided to be sure before I set fire to my life. I started looking. Phone records, Venmo transactions, GPS logs. I knew it was unhealthy, obsessive even, but something inside me needed to know exactly how deep the cut was. It didn't take long to spot the patterns. Every time she said she had to stay late grading, food deliveries went to Mason's building. He lived across town in a loft above a bookstore, the one we'd helped him move into 2 years ago. Anytime I had poker night with coworkers, she'd Uber out, but not to her sister's house like she said. The drop-offs were never anywhere near it. For 3 weeks, I played dumb. Smiled, cooked dinner, rubbed her shoulders when she complained about back pain. She said her appetite had changed lately. Said her skin was breaking out from stress. I nodded, listened, watched. Meanwhile, Mason was quieter than usual in our group chat. He said work was crazy, that he'd picked up extra consulting gigs. It was all very neatly timed. Then came a Friday before Easter. We had tickets to see City and Color. Kayla loved them, especially the sad songs. That afternoon, she texted me that she was feeling sick and needed to lie down. Claimed she'd eaten something bad at lunch. I told her I'd stay home. She insisted I go without her. "You love live music more than anyone," she said. "You'll have more fun alone than watching me puke in the sink." It was a joke, I think. I didn't laugh. I went anyway. Halfway through the set, I got a text from Mason. "Bro, I'm dying. Need ginger ale stat." That was weird. Mason never got sick. Never even caught colds. Somehow. I offered to drop some off. He just sent a thumbs-up emoji. After the last song, I hit a 24-hour pharmacy and picked up ginger ale and some saltines. Drove across town to his place. His Jeep wasn't in the lot. No lights on inside. I almost turned around, but when I looked up at the loft windows, I saw a flicker of light coming from bedroom. A soft golden glow. The same warm lamp he used when reading. I let myself in with the spare key. The one hidden under the fake rock. I'd hidden it there myself once, years ago, after he locked himself out. The place was quiet. Smelled faintly like lemon candles. I set the bag of ginger ale on the kitchen counter. I heard Kayla laugh. It wasn't a nervous laugh. It was full, open. The kind she used when watching old Vines or dancing around the living room in pajamas. I didn't move. My heart was thudding so hard I felt it in my fingertips. I pulled out my phone and hit record. I'm not sure why. Maybe I knew I'd need proof later. For myself, if no one else. Her voice floated out of the bedroom. He's going to find out eventually. Then Mason's voice, soft. We'll tell him soon. I walked toward the bedroom door. It was half open. I didn't knock. Just pushed it gently with my fingers and looked in. She was standing there barefoot, her hand resting on a small curve beneath her sweatshirt. One of mine. My old OSU hoodie. The one I'd worn that night. Mason stood behind her, arms around her waist. They were holding a baby onesie together like it was some precious relic. She saw me first. Her face went ghost white. Mason followed her gaze, and his body stiffened like he'd been hit by a truck. I didn't say much. Just ginger ales on the counter, and walked out. No one followed me. I drove to a hotel that night. Booked 4 nights, no idea what I was doing. Billy slept at my feet, his warm breath a small comfort. The TV played reruns until dawn. I never really closed my eyes. By the time I returned to our condo, I was already planning my exit. I gathered what I needed. Clothes, my guitar, Billy's food, some work essentials. I didn't leave a note. She called 22 times in 2 days. Texted double that. I didn't respond. The messages got longer, more emotional. First came the apologies, then the explanations, then the confession I'd known was coming. She was pregnant. It was Mason's. I sat on the floor of my temporary apartment and read that text 3 times. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone. I just sat there for a long time and thought about how many tiny cracks it had taken to finally break us, and how I had no intention of gluing anything back together. It's funny how quiet betrayal is when it settles in. You expect it to roar, to scream in your ears, or set something on fire inside you. But it doesn't. It's still a slow leak. You just sit in it, realizing that nothing looks different, but everything is. That week after I left, I kept going to work, showing up on time, doing my job. I'd smile when I had to, nod in meetings, even laugh at the right moments. But inside, I was somewhere else, watching the movie of my life in the back row. I stayed with an old college buddy for a bit. His name's Mark. We hadn't talked much in the last couple of years. Life got in the way like it does, but when I texted him that I needed a place to crash, he didn't even ask why. Just sent me the door code and told me the beer in the fridge was mine. That kind of loyalty hits different when your best friend has just blown up your marriage. Kayla kept texting. I read the messages, but never answered. She'd go from desperate to angry, then back again. I could see her unraveling in real time, her carefully built version of herself slipping. One night, she sent a wall of text explaining everything. How it started. When it started. It just happened, she wrote. We were drunk. You were working late. I didn't mean for it to become anything. That part made me laugh out loud. She didn't mean for it to become anything, but it became a child. I stared at that sentence for a long time. It just happened. People say that like gravity pushed them into bed. Like it wasn't a choice every step of the way. Mason tried once. He sent me a short message. I fucked up. I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry, man. That was it. No explanation. No attempt at repair. He probably knew there wasn't one. I didn't respond to him either. The hardest part was the mornings. Waking up and remembering everything all over again. That first 5 seconds when your brain hasn't quite rebooted and then boom, right? I'm here on someone else's couch because my wife is pregnant with my best friend's baby. I started running again. Early mornings, just me and Billy before the city fully woke up. I'd plug in some music, just instrumentals, nothing with lyrics, and let my feet do the thinking. I've forgotten how good it felt, that controlled kind of pain in your legs and chest, where the outside ache matches what's going on inside. Running gave me space to breathe. 2 weeks passed before I spoke to her. It wasn't planned. She showed up outside my office, just standing there in the rain. No umbrella, no jacket. She looked thinner, pale, eyes sunken like she hadn't slept. Jason, she said, voice small. I nodded. Didn't say her name. Didn't step closer. Can we talk? Not here. She followed me to the parking garage, a half step behind, like she thought if she walked beside me, it would make things normal again. We stood beside my car. I didn't offer her a seat. I'm sorry, she said. I don't know how to say it any other way. You already did, I replied, in about 50 different texts. She bit her lip, looked down. I didn't plan any of this. I swear to you. She stopped herself. You were always so good, so steady. I felt like I didn't deserve you. And somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that meant you'd eventually leave me. That's not why you cheated, I said calmly. You cheated because you chose to. Don't turn it into some tragic, self-fulfilling prophecy. Her lip trembled. He wasn't you. That's the first honest thing you've said. Silence stretched between us. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I'm keeping the baby, she said finally. I nodded. Good. That's between you and him now. I'm not asking you to be involved. I thought you should hear it from me. You've taken enough from me, Kayla. You don't get to decide what else I need to hear. She didn't cry. I expected tears. Kayla always used to cry during hard conversations. But she didn't. Maybe she knew it wouldn't work this time. Before she left, she asked one last question. Do you hate me? I shook my head. No, I just don't trust you anymore. And I don't want anything to do with you. That's worse than hate. She nodded slowly, then walked away. After that, something shifted. I didn't feel relief, exactly, but I did feel lighter. Like the worst had already happened, and now I could stop bracing for the next blow. I started sleeping better, ate real meals again, even joined a rec soccer league just to get out of my own head. I also got a new phone, new number, new carrier, left the old one powered off in a drawer like a relic from another life. If Kayla kept trying, she was screaming into the void. I had nothing left to give her. And Mason? I never saw him again. 3 months later, a mutual friend told me they moved in together. Apparently, they'd posted some cute announcement photo, her with a bump, him with a dopey smile. I didn't look it up. I didn't need to. I could picture it too clearly, and I wasn't interested in torturing myself. But karma, as they say, doesn't need an invitation. It started with a Facebook post, a vague, cryptic message from one of Kayla's old college friends. Some people really show their true colors when the baby arrives. I didn't click, but it set something humming in the background of my mind. A week later, I got a message on LinkedIn, of all places, from a woman named Trina. She used to work with Mason years ago. We'd met maybe twice at barbecues. Her message was short. Hey, Jason, you don't know me well, but I thought you should know Mason has been seeing someone else. It's not my business, but I know what happened to you, and, well, you deserve to know he hasn't changed. Take care. I sat with that for a while. Did I feel satisfaction? A little. Did I feel pity? Maybe more than I expected. Kayla had chosen him. She'd burned her life to the ground for him. And now, with a child on the way, he was already stepping out. Somehow, I didn't feel vindicated. Just sad. Not for her, exactly, but for the version of us that could have existed in another life, if she'd just told the truth before it got this far. I closed the message, deleted it, and then I went for a run. For months after everything fell apart, I moved into a new place. Small, nothing flashy. 1-bedroom rental in a quiet neighborhood. Lots of trees, lots of silence. Billy liked it. Plenty of squirrels to chase when we walked, and a little patch of backyard just big enough for her to nap in the sun. I liked it too. For the first time in a long while, my space felt like mine. No echoes of old fights or rooms that held too many memories. Just clean walls, quiet mornings, and the smell of fresh coffee and freedom. Work had become my anchor. I poured myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for the tougher clients. My boss noticed. You going for promotion? He asked one evening, sipping from his chipped World's Okayest Manager mug. Something like that, I said. But it wasn't about climbing a ladder. It was about reclaiming something. My competence. My focus. My identity beyond just being Kayla's husband or Mason's friend. I hadn't told many people what had happened. The few who knew respected my silence. I didn't want to be pitted or offered those soft-eyed, gentle head tilts people give when they find out you've been betrayed. I didn't want it to define me. And slowly it didn't. I started seeing someone. Her name was Rachel. We met at the dog park. She had a goofy golden retriever named Benny who liked to steal Billy's tennis ball and parade around like he'd invented fetch. At first, it was casual, just 2 dog people who chatted on the bench while our animals tired themselves out. But one afternoon, after weeks of these lazy conversations, she handed me a cup of coffee with cream and no sugar, exactly how I took it, and said, I figured out from your order at the truck last time. It was such a small thing, but it hit me. She noticed. We talked more after that. Real talks about books and childhood and how both of us used to think we'd be married forever until we weren't. She had a quiet wisdom about her, like someone who'd seen her share of storms but never let them take her light. No pressure, no expectations. Just this gentle, slow burn presence that made me feel like I could exhale again. I didn't tell her about Kayla at first, or Mason, not because I was hiding anything. I just didn't want them to bleed into this new chapter. I needed something untouched by all that. It came out eventually, though. On a rainy night, in her apartment, Billy and Benny sprawled at our feet. She didn't flinch, just listened, then said, "That's a lot. I'm sorry." I nodded. "Thanks." And that was it. No questions, no judgments. Just a soft hand resting on mine and a warmth in her eyes that told me I didn't have to explain anything else unless I wanted to. Around that time, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but something made me swipe. "Jason." The voice was tired, cracked. It was Kayla's mother. We'd been close once. She'd treated me like a son, made me pies for my birthday, slipped me gas money during those broke college years. "Hi, Janice. I know I shouldn't be calling," she said, her voice low. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." I was quiet. I didn't know what to say. "She didn't tell me the truth at first," she continued. "I thought you just left. I was angry at you. But now, I know. And I'm sorry I ever doubted you." I swallowed. "You don't have to apologize." "She had a baby," she said suddenly. I blinked. "Oh, a boy. Healthy. Looks like her." I didn't ask anything else. Didn't want to know Mason's role or lack thereof. But she went on anyway. "He's not around much. Says he's busy with work," but she didn't finish. I could hear the disappointment in her voice. The shame. "I just wanted to say you didn't deserve what happened," she said softly. "You were good to her. Too good, maybe. She knows that now." "Thank you," I said. "I hope the baby's okay." "He is. But she's not." I think she thought this would fix something, but it's only made her realize what she broke. We didn't talk long. Just a few more words, awkward and kind. And then I hung up. I stood by the window for a while after that. Rain tapping the glass. Street lights flickering. A baby. A whole new life brought into the world through all that mess. I didn't feel bitterness. Not even anger. Just stillness. And maybe that was the win I hadn't expected. That I could hear all of it. Kayla alone. Mason gone. The child I never asked for. And not feel hollowed out. I felt whole. Like the wounds had healed into something tougher. Something quietly resilient. Rachel came over that night. She brought Thai food and a bottle of red wine. We didn't talk about Kayla. Instead, we curled up on the couch, our dogs at our feet, a bad action movie playing in the background. I remember looking at her and thinking, not that she was the one, or that this was some perfect fairy tale, but that I liked who I was when I was with her. Calm, present, honest. A few weeks later, I ran into Mason. I was at a hardware store picking up some things for a shelf project I'd been putting off. He was in the next aisle. I didn't even recognize him at first. He looked rough, unshaven, thinner, eyes darting like he was late for something or hiding from someone. Our eyes met. He froze. I didn't say anything, just gave a small nod and kept walking. Didn't stop, didn't look back. That silence? That was mine, and it said more than a punch ever could. Because in that moment, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I'd already won. It had been nearly a year since everything came crashing down, and by then, the wreckage wasn't something I thought about much anymore. Every so often, it would come back to me, a flash of Kayla's face when I confronted her, or the tight knot that used to sit in my chest when I thought about Mason. But those flashes didn't sting like they used to. They were just memories, background noise to a life that had finally moved on. Rachel and I weren't rushing anything. She had her own past, her own scars. We both knew better than to throw ourselves into something just to drown out the silence. But it was good between us. Real. She didn't ask for parts of me I wasn't ready to give, and I didn't try to fix her. We just showed up for each other, day after day, and in a world that can feel like it's always changing, that kind of steadiness is rare. One night, we were out walking the dogs when she said, "You seem settled lately." Like something clicked. I smiled. Maybe it did. It was true. I had a rhythm again. I cooked more. I hosted a couple of small dinners. I even started playing guitar again, something I hadn't touched in years. I didn't think of these things as signs of healing. They were just things I used to love, returning to me slowly, like they'd waited long enough. Then I got an email. It was from Kayla. Subject line, no expectations. Just words. I stared at it for a long time. Thought about deleting it unread. But I didn't. I opened it. She didn't waste space with greetings. Just dove in. "I've been in therapy," she wrote. "I know that might sound like too little too late, and I'm not writing to earn your forgiveness. I know I probably never will. I just wanted to tell you that I've spent the past few months finally looking at myself without excuses. It's ugly, but it's real. She told me Mason was gone. Completely. Disappeared before the baby turned 6 months old. No support. No calls. No visits. Just vanished. He said he didn't sign up for this, she wrote. Which is funny, considering he was so quick to destroy something good for the sake of wanting me. She said she didn't blame me for walking away. That she understood now what she really lost. Not a paycheck or a warm body or a convenient partner, but someone who'd shown up for her over and over, even when she didn't deserve it. She ended with, "I hope you're doing well. I really do. You deserved more than I ever gave you." I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to say. I think sometimes people want closure like it's a conversation, but most of the time, closure is just peace. Silence. Distance. Living better. And I had that now. Rachel and I took a weekend trip up north not long after that. A quiet cabin near a lake, logs crackling in the fireplace, long walks under a canopy of autumn leaves. On the last night, we sat out by the fire pit, wrapped in blankets, mugs of whiskey in hand. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "You ever think about what you'd say to them? If you had one last shot to get it off your chest?" I didn't answer right away. Eventually, I said, "I think I'd say thank you." She tilted her head. "Really?" "Yeah," I said, because if it hadn't happened, if they hadn't shown me exactly who they were, I'd probably still be there, still trying to hold together something that never actually deserved saving. She looked at me like she saw something deeper in me than I'd seen in myself. "You're stronger than you give yourself credit for." Maybe I was. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise and went for a run around the lake. It was misty and cold, the air sharp in my lungs, and everything around me was quiet except for the steady rhythm of my feet against the gravel. And I felt it then, not triumph, not revenge, not even happiness. I felt free, and that was enough. Back in the city, life returned to normal. Or, I should say, the new normal, one where peace didn't feel like absence but presence. I saw my old friends again, rebuilt connections that had fallen away. I started helping at a local shelter on weekends, just walking dogs, cleaning kennels, small things, but it gave me a sense of usefulness I didn't know I'd been missing. Then one night, I ran into Kayla again. It was at a grocery store of all places. She was in the frozen aisle, holding a bag of peas. Her hair was shorter, her clothes looser. She looked tired, but not unwell. Just worn, like someone who'd lived a few extra years in a short amount of time. She saw me. Her face shifted. Not shock, more like quiet acceptance. "Hey," she said. "Hey." We stood there for a beat. "I heard you're doing well," she said. "Rachel, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, things are good." She gave a small smile. "I'm glad." I nodded again. Started to step past her. She reached out lightly. "Jason, I just want you to know I really am sorry. For everything." This time I looked her in the eyes. "I know," I said, "and I hope things turn around for you." And then I walked away. It was the last time I saw her. No dramatic exit. No lingering glances. Just two people with too much history and nothing left between them except a quiet kind of mercy. That night, I told Rachel about it. She didn't ask for details. Just listened. Then she reached for my hand, laced her fingers through mine, and said, "Come here." And in that simple gesture, I felt more love than I'd ever known in the 10 years I spent with someone who never really saw me. Some stories end with revenge. Others end with reconciliation. Mine ended with clarity. And that, I think, is the best kind of peace you can hope for. Summer came early this year. The air smelled of cut grass and sunscreen by mid-May. And the sycamores outside our duplex leafed out so fast you could almost hear them creak under the weight of all that green. I woke before sunrise most days. Not out of anxiety anymore, just habit. Made coffee, cracked the window, and listened to the neighborhood wake with its small, familiar noises. A distant garbage truck's hydraulic sigh, a lawn sprinkler ticking, Billy's tail thumping the floor as soon as she sensed I was vertical. Rachel's door eased open behind me. She patted and wearing my old OSU hoodie, sleeves swallowing her hands. "You're thinking too loud again," she mumbled, nuzzling my shoulder. "About a pitch in 2 hours," I said. "Investors on the West Coast." Figured I'd run through the slides once more. She yawned. "You'll crush it. You always do." That was still strange to hear. For a long time, crush it belonged to people like Mason, loud, confident, impossible to ignore. I'd spent the past 18 months learning that quiet could be powerful too, especially when it carried proof. My budgeting app, the side project that kept me sane after the split, had somehow slid past 10,000 paying users without a cent of. Advertising. Freelancers loved the drag-and-drop tax buckets. Small businesses loved the invoicing automation. A mid-tier fintech outfit wanted to license it outright. And if today went well, I'd clear enough money to pay off my student loans and maybe take Rachel someplace with turquoise water and no Wi-Fi. She squeezed my hand once and drifted to the kettle. Benny trotted in, ears flopping, and the dogs commenced their daily competition over who could wag their whole body harder. The kitchen felt warm and easy, like a sentence that knows exactly where it's going. The pitch itself lasted 19 minutes. I sat in my home office, just a desk, a spider plant, and one framed photo of my dad fly fishing, while 5 suits half a continent away nodded through my demo. When the Q&A ended, the lead guy, silver-haired and soft-spoken, leaned toward his webcam. "We'll send the term sheet this afternoon," he said. "Great work, Jason." I clicked leave meeting, let out a breath, and startled when Billy barked as if on cue. Rachel appeared with 2 mugs. "I eavesdropped through the vent," she admitted. "Term sheet equals celebration pancakes, yes?" She raised an eyebrow in that mock-stern way that meant the matter was settled. I grinned. "Extra blueberries," I said. We ate on the back steps while the sun climbed over the houses, maple shadows flickering across the grass. My phone buzzed a few times, congrats pings from coworkers who'd been tracking the call on Slack, but there was one notification that made my stomach pause. An unknown number, voicemail left 30 seconds earlier. Rachel caught the brief hitch in my face. "You okay?" "Probably," I said. "Could be spam." I tapped play. A shaky male voice filled the speaker. "Jason, hey man, it's Mason. I know it's been forever. Your number wasn't easy to find. Look, I'm in a rough spot. I could use 5 minutes. Please." Silence, then the disconnect tone. Rachel set her mug down gently. "You gonna call him back?" I stared across the yard where Billy was nose-deep in dandelions. Once the idea of hearing his voice again would have set my pulse racing. Now it barely nudged the needle. More curiosity than dread. "I guess I owe myself the clarity," I said. "Want privacy?" she asked. I shook my head and dialed. He answered on the first ring, breathless, like he'd been holding the phone. "Jason, thank God. I didn't think you'd." "What's going on, Mason?" A long exhale. In the background, I heard traffic, maybe a freeway. "I'm in Columbus. Couch surfing. I lost my job a few months ago. The freelance market tanked, and I made some bad moves." I said nothing. Let the hum of the line press him forward. "I thought Kayla and I could make it work, but after I left, well, she's got her hands full with the kid. No room for me. I screwed up, man." His voice cracked. I need work. Or a reference. Something." I pictured him in that hardware store aisle a year earlier, pupils darting, beard untrimmed. The collapse had been visible already, like hairline fractures in a windshield. "Mason, I can't give you what you're asking for," I said evenly. "I'm not a character reference for you. You understand why." A choked laugh. Yeah, I get it. I just figured it couldn't hurt to try." I almost ended the call there, but another thought surfaced. "There's a community tech program downtown," I said. "They retrain people for IT support. It's funded, no tuition. Contact Sister Marianne at St. Luke's. She won't judge your resume." He was quiet a moment. "You'd really, after everything?" "It's not for you. It's for the people you'll help once you're stable. Don't waste it." A faint sound, maybe tears he refused to let fall, filtered through the static. "Thank you," he whispered. "Take care, Mason." I hung up. Some part of me expected a surge of triumph, or at least vindication. What came instead was a gentle finality, like shutting the cover of a book I'd long since finished. Rachel slipped her hand through my arm. We watched a robin tug a worm from the soil, life insisting on its own continuance. The term sheet arrived right after lunch. The numbers made me blink. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a single line, "Looks good, green light ASAP," and then forced myself to close the laptop. I didn't want the rest of the day stolen by spreadsheets. Rachel had evening shift at the clinic, so we packed the dogs in her Subaru and drove to Riverside Park, windows down, music low. The river was high from spring rains, rushing quicksilver under the pedestrian bridge. We walked in comfortable silence, tossing a stick for Billy and Benny until their tongues lolled like pink banners. Halfway back to the car, Rachel stopped by a vendor cart and bought 2 lemon ices. Yellow dripped down the paper cups while we sat on a bench facing sunset. She nudged her shoulder into mine. "So," she said around a spoonful, "what does one do after a windfall?" "Pay debts, replace my 10-year-old laptop, maybe adopt another dog." Her eyes lit. Billy would revolt, but Benny's in. I laughed. The breeze shifted, carrying the scent of lilac from a nearby hedge. I cleared my throat. "There's one other thing." My chest fluttered despite all the calm I'd rehearsed. She turned, eyebrows lifted. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a simple white envelope. No ring box. Rachel didn't like grand gestures or jewelry she could snag on vet clinic cages. Inside the envelope was a thin, engraved key on a brass chain. "You already have a key," she said, confused. "This one's for wherever we decide to live next," I said. "Could be here, could be a house we choose together. Either way, I want you there with me. Always." Her breath caught. "Are you asking?" "I'm asking if you'll marry me, Rachel. No fireworks, no knee in the mud. Just a promise I'll keep showing up every day the way I learned to." She blinked fast. "You really think Billy will survive another human in the bed?" "She'll scoot over." I smiled. "Is that a yes?" Rachel's answer was to kiss me, lemon sweet and certain. The dog started barking because two kids raced past with kites, and we laughed into each other's mouths, joy utterly uncontained. That night, after she left for her shift, I sat on the porch with my guitar. The strings felt familiar again, fingertips callousing back up where time had softened them. I strummed an old folk progression my dad taught me, slow and wistful. Fireflies blinked across the yard. Somewhere beyond the trees a siren wailed, then faded. Life, always a mix of grace notes and dissonance. My phone lit with a text from Kayla's mother. Just a photo. The baby, now toddling, clutching a crayon triumphantly in one fist. Beneath it, a caption. "He's drawing on everything." Thought the art teacher's ex-husband might appreciate. I smiled, typed back, "He's got good taste in canvases," and left it at that. I glanced at the house behind me. Lights warmed through the curtains, Rachel's mug beside the sink, dog toys scattered like confetti. Not perfect, never perfect, but undeniably mine. A life pieced together from patience, from mornings that began with heartbreak but ended with pancakes. Somewhere, Mason would decide whether to call St. Luke's. Somewhere, Kayla would tape fresh paper over a table and let her son scribble. Those stories would keep unfolding with or without me. I didn't need to watch or intervene. My chapter with them had its last period already inked. I played until my fingertips buzzed, until the moon climbed high and the street went still. Then I locked the door, whispered goodnight to Billy, and fell into bed. I dreamt of turquoise water and quiet coves where cell signals died, of Rachel's laugh echoing off limestone cliffs, of starting fresh with nothing to hide and everything ahead. When morning cracked open, sunshine pooled across the quilt, and Billy nudged my hand for breakfast. I rubbed her ears, feeling the scar where she'd once barreled through a bramble patch. Healed but present. A reminder that wounds leave marks, and that's okay. They prove you survived. I padded into the kitchen, set the percolator on the stove, and found myself humming the melody I'd played the night before. Outside, the sycamores whispered. Cars rolled by, people on their way to jobs, or lovers, or new catastrophes they didn't know about yet. I poured coffee, tasted the first bitter bright sip, and let the steam fog my glasses. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt steady, like a river that had finally settled into its rightful course after a long season of floods. And for the first time in years, the quiet around me sounded less like emptiness and more like possibility, a blank bar in the music, waiting for the next clean note. That was enough.